this is a perfect little segue here because we have to give Clint all of the credit for the term DNN Chicago style, because when he did Southern Fried DNN, giving a new name to Day of DNN, we thought, well, if those guys can talk about fried chicken, then Chicago can certainly talk about pizza. And so let's do Chicago style DNN. So Clint, I'm going to pass the baton over to you. And Clint is a developer of DNN websites for a good number of years and is such a great evangelist of DNN. Not only has he become a DNN superfan for an MVP, kind of a person for the DNN ecosphere, but they liked him so much they brought him into the company, and so he is a star evangelist for DNN Corporation, and he's here tonight to talk to us about the upcoming release of DNN and a few other things. So, Clint, let me pass the baton to you.
All right, I appreciate it, and I just want to confirm that everyone can hear me and that everyone can see my screen here. Yep, okay, all right, yeah, I was waiting on y'all to say yes, and then I forgot you were muted, but I do see it on the chat, so appreciate it. So again, I thank you all for having me. I will say that, you know, we do run our user group here in Charlotte, and the way you guys have just rolled out the intro has kind of inspired me. You know, we kind of need to step up our game here with the updates and stuff. So that was very impressive. And I hope that you can understand me. I'm actually going to try to move my mouth when I talk tonight. I know you guys probably saw my what do you call it, Ignite presentation about Southerners. So I'm going to try to articulate here during the presentation. So
oh, hey, if I can stop you there for just a second, I've got to interject this thought here. At the end of Clint's Ignite session, he put up, I think it was your wife's Twitter name, and asked to have a bunch of people tweet to her telling what an awesome guy he is, so that he score a whole bunch of points for when he got home. Now, I had to say that because I got to tell you, tonight, this day, the 13th of November, just happens to be my wedding anniversary, and my wife is really putting up with me being here with you guys talking about this stuff. So if anyone wants to tweet out there on the Sprocket website or at Don Gingold saying how great of a guy I am, it'll score points for me too. So I appreciate it.
Nice. Yeah. See, you know, those Ignite sessions, you're supposed to have 20 slides, and I got to 19, and I said, well, man, I need another slide. So I just figured I'd try to, you know, earn some brownie points. So that was how that happened here.
Perfect. All right. Sorry to interrupt, but go right ahead. Continue on.
No, it's fine. I appreciate it, and I'll try to tweet you later on while Dave's presenting.
All right.
So what we're going to do is we're just going to walk through, you know, some of the enhancements on 7.2, and pretty much all of them are covered in the slides. So that's going to make it easy. And then I'll roll into some of the core community or social features in the community or platform edition. And then we'll look at time, and I'll show some form and list stuff if time permits here. So what I have done, and I guess I should point out as well, on DNNsoftware.com, and you probably are familiar, but just in case you are not, we do have this platform build tab here, and you can go and actually download the nightly build of the platform here. I'm sorry, I need to click actually nightly build. So that's all I did. I just went and grabbed this, you know, latest major build, and I installed it here on my local machine. So I just want to point out that you can definitely go and download these nightly builds, which is a relatively new feature. So the first thing that, you know, was mentioned in the slides and that I have here is that as of 7.2, we're going to be fully responsive out of the box. And so, again, this is not the final release. This is like beta release candidate. So it's not perfect, but you can see that we're definitely, you know, responsive here out of the box. And so the responsive skin was donated by the guys at Arrow. I believe it was Ralph Williams. And again, if we click to, you know, any page, you're going to be seeing that it's, you know, responsive. And so this is actually based on Bootstrap 2. And so if you follow any of the blogs or, you know, just a conversation going back and forth, there's, you know, now a Bootstrap 3, which has been released. And so just to clarify, when Ralph and the guys started building this skin, Bootstrap 3 was not yet released, and so they did it on Bootstrap 2. And so I think in future releases we'll be pushing towards Bootstrap 3. But again, just, you know, mentioning that or reiterating the fact that this responsive skin was a community donation, right? So if you're awesome at Bootstrap 3 and you want to get in there and update it or donate it, feel free, because that's exactly what happened here, you know, on the original responsive design or the Bootstrap 2 version that Ralph and the guys donated. So the next thing we're going to talk about, and it won't take long, is just the users in the search here. So I'm going to log in, and I guess I'll log in as the host user. And so, or actually, I'm sorry, not the search. What I want to talk about is this new welcome screen. So we've got kind of a new design here, and what's going to happen when you, and it's not just the first time you stand up a new site, it's going to be every time that an admin user logs in, they're going to see this welcome screen here. Now, this one is not finished. They're going to have, like, I think, some animations, rollovers. But if you look here at the bottom left-hand corner, you have this do not show again. So every time the admin user logs in, the screen is going to show until you click this don't show or do not show item here. And so you can sign up for a newsletter, you can download the user manual, and if we click this, it'll take us to the, you know, the user manual page on the site. And it's just got some, you know, getting started type links here. And I see you guys on the chat. Yeah, it's pretty nice. So I'm not exactly sure if this is going to link to videos or actually, you know, a blog or a wiki. I'm going to say that it's going to link to the videos, because if you have seen any of our cloud trials, a lot of these link to the videos, you know, for either social or content. So anyways, this is a new feature. And it's going to be here anytime the admin user logs in until you click this. So I'll just close that here. So now, talking about search, as you know, we overhauled search in 7.1, and so we're based on Lucene.net, and that's got a lot of advantages for us. But in the 7.2 release, we're going to also start showing users in the search. So as I start typing the word Tracy, so I've, you know, previously come in here and I've got two users. I've got a user named Tracy and I've got a user named Lynn. And as I start typing their name, the users are getting returned here in the search. Now, I will mention that search is going to honor the privacy settings by the user. So, you know, if the user didn't want to share their email or whatever, that's not going to be returned in the search. So, you know, some people are fans of returning the users in the search, and some are not. But this is, you know, a feature that has been added here with 7.2. I think it's, you know, a pretty cool feature. It says, can you hide? Somebody's asking a question. Can you hide certain users by role? I actually do not know the answer to that question. I'll have to go back and ask the guys here. But it's definitely a good question, but I'm not sure. And now that you asked that, I want to see if I start typing in host user what happens. So yeah. So no, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I need to find that out and get back to you. So I'll make a note of that one. So appreciate the question though. So now we talked about in the slides and intro this host, and we've got SQL tab. So we've got a lot of enhancements here in this area. So me personally, I'm not like a SQL guru, so I don't come here a ton. But for the guys who are hardcore developers, you probably have used this before, and it was not. I mean, it definitely worked, but it wasn't as user-friendly or as intuitive as it is now. So, and again, this SQL module, these enhancements, I think were donated or contributed to by Peter Donker as well as Vincent Massanas, I think, or maybe Timu. I'm not exactly sure which one, but these guys have donated a lot of enhancements here. So, in the past, you could always come in and run SQL queries, and I'm just going to run some basic queries. So I'm just going to say, select all from users. And so what you'll instantly see is that we have this kind of syntax highlighting, and that's going to be implemented via Code Mirror, which is something that got integrated like deep in the core, and there's way more to that I could even describe, but the developer guys on the horn probably know more about Code Mirror than me. But what I'm going to do is just run this script, and once I run the script, you'll see where we now down below we've got a tabbed interface here, and we're returning the results of the query just as you would imagine, right? But we can also page here if we have multiple results pages. And so we can even search as well as we can copy the results, or we can export them to CSV or Excel, or even convert them to a PDF as well. So, these features, it seems kind of simple, like, yeah, you should have those, but they previously weren't there, and so it's a pretty neat enhancement here. Now, also, you could choose a file, like if you wanted to load up a file of a query, you could do that, and then you can even save queries. So if this was a query that I frequently used, I could go ahead and save this, and I can give it a name, and I could say Clint base query, and I don't know if you have spaces, but I'm just saving it like that, so just in case. So now you see the queries here. I could instantly reference that if I wanted to. And so for any of you guys that are frequently running queries, you no longer have to have them like saved on a notepad. You can just save them here within the system, and it just kind of increases efficiency. So that's a pretty neat enhancement. Now also, I ran this select all from users, but we can also say, select all from, and I'll say, I don't know, skins. And so if you're not very familiar with DNN, what I'm doing is I'm just running some SQL queries that are querying tables in the database. So there's a users table and a skins table. But what I'm going to do now is just click this run script. And so the script ran, and what you notice is now that we have two query tabs. So the first one is reflecting this, line number 1. Then query 2 is reflecting the select all from skins. So you can run multiple queries at once, and then toggle here in between the tabs. And again, you still have the toggle and the ability to download all these. And then one thing I kind of skipped was that we're connecting to the site SQL server for the DNN site, but if you have multiple databases or multiple, I guess, connection strings, they would appear in this list as well. So these are some, I would say, much needed updates, and it's more, I guess it's a better user experience here from the host SQL screen here. So I don't know if you guys have any questions about that or comments. Feel free to ask or chime in here on the chat window. Next thing I want to do is talk a little bit about the module creator. So I'm going to just click to this About Us page. Yeah, I see you guys in the chat. Yeah, loving it. Yeah, it is a really nice contribution on the SQL query. So if you see Donker or Vincent online, be sure to give them some kudos here. So Sean at DNN World, I think last year, the last DNN World, he referenced the module creator, and I think he may have even demoed it a little bit. But now what I want to do is just click this. I'm going to hover over modules and click add new module. And so we're going to add a new module to the page, obviously. And so if you scroll over far enough, you'll see where we have this new module called Module Creator. And so I'm just going to drag this down to the page. And again, I don't claim to be the module creator guru guy here. But the whole gist of this is to kind of make it easy or to kind of reduce the barrier of entry for someone who's wanting to get in and you know, kind of quickly develop a module. And so we can essentially start creating a module right here from within the site. And so I'm going to give this, you know, module a name, and we'll see if I can blow it up. I've already done it one time. I'm just going to call this CBP2. So this is going to be, you know, the owner name, and it's something that you want to have that's kind of unique for yourself. And we'll just call this the test module. Let's call it the test 2 module. And I'll just say description. So you could choose what language you wanted to code in. I'll just leave it as C#. And then we, you know, are picking what are we going to create the module from. And so I'm just going to leave the user control selected. And by default, you know, it's giving us this view name as the control name. And so obviously, if you're familiar with development, you typically have a view, an edit, and a setting. And so what I'm going to do is click this create module, and let's see what happens. And we get an error. So I got an error the first time I tried this, but I'm not sure if I have renamed something. Let me try to refresh this and try this again. I'm going to add it to the page one more time. At least I'm consistent in my errors, right? So module creator. I like to say that don't use the dash. Okay, I hear you. I like to say that the demo gods are not on my side. So we'll try to not use the dash here this time. So we'll say CBP2, we'll say test module 2 description. Let's try that without the dash and see if that does what we want. Yeah, so that was it, Scott. You the man. Appreciate it. So we've essentially, you know, kind of created a base module here, and you can see that we've got this test 2 module. So I think now if I actually go to add new module, I think the test 2 module may be listed. So yeah, you can see this test 2 module, and it looks like I've got a remnant of the previous one. But so now the module exists in the system, right? And so I could, you know, drag and drop this to the page. Obviously, yeah, I think we had somebody join. So welcome. But so the module exists in the system, and what we can do is, I'll just click into the settings here so we can see if there's, you know, specific settings. There's not a 4th tab that's specific to this. So what I'm going to do is go into the develop menu item here. And so this is something that I typically, you know, don't get into because I'm not like a hardcore developer. But if you do go ahead and click into develop, you'll see where it loads up actually the code that exists in this view, right? And so if I wanted to, I could come in here and start, you know, typing a bunch of, you know, text or inserting labels, and then those would instantly be reflected here on my site or on this page. And so, you know, we can select various files, and so you see that, you know, we've got the resx, which is a file for localization, and then we've got the code behind, so we could load up the code behind. And so, you know, you could potentially get in here and start creating your own modules. If you're, you know, comfortable in Visual Studio, you might look at this and say, why would I ever do that? But if you're new to module development, this can greatly help you out. So now that we've got the module, you know, going here, we can click add files. So for example, if we wanted to then go in and add an edit control, so we could go ahead and do that from here, and we could create, you know, as many controls as we would like. Then we could also go ahead and package this module. And if we package the module, I think we're going to go through, you know, kind of a wizard that's very similar to if you were going to install a module. And so we're essentially, you know, going to just click next here, and it's showing the files that exist in the module. And, you know, if we were going to include any assemblies, we could do that here. I'll just click next. And so this is going to be the manifest. And so if you're familiar with DNN modules, there's a XML file that usually ends in .dnn, which is the manifest, which kind of, you know, tells DNN, you know, the name of the module, what your controls are, where they live. Somebody's asking a question, can you do settings? I only saw edit and view. Yeah, we can try that. I'm not confident that it won't blow up. But again, I'll go ahead and just click through this. So this is the manifest file, and so we are essentially packaging up our module here, and so you can see that it successfully did that. Now, we're asking a question about the settings. So let's see, actually I didn't mean to click that, I meant to go into develop. Let's see if I can add a file and give it the name of settings. Yeah, you're right. On the control type, we only have view and edit, and so, okay, so settings is a special type of edit control. Yeah, Scott may be exactly right. Like I said, I'm not a developer extraordinaire. So, but let's see if we can create one called settings and see what happens. Now, if it blows up, y'all didn't see it happen. All right, so let's go ahead and click create. The file is successfully created. Yep, and so it's currently blank, right? Let me just click update, and let's see if I can get into the module settings and see if let's see if there's going to be a settings tab come into view. No. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe I need to register it a different way. I'll have to look into that more. But the point is that I guess ultimately the module creator is now in 7.2, and you know, hopefully this will allow, you know, people to get in and create modules quick and easy if they're, you know, if they are not familiar with Visual Studio or if they do not have it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the module creator. And like I say, if you're more developer oriented, it's probably right up your alley. So next thing is the host extension. So we're going to talk about some of the JavaScript library management. So if you're familiar with you know, administrating DNN, then you know that everything in DNN is pretty much an extension point. And so I'm back here on the extension page, or extensions page, and so you're familiar with, we have modules that exist here, and this is new as of 7.2 that we have this JavaScript library section. And so what this is, you know, obviously it's loading up different JavaScript libraries, because that's like the trend now. You know, everybody's using some kind of client-side JavaScript library, and both module developers and skin designers are using these. And so the hope is that we can register these libraries, and that module developers and skin designers can leverage or use the API, so that these JavaScript libraries won't get called multiple times when they're not needed, or override each other, or maybe cause some kind of clash. And so it's pretty straightforward as to the JavaScript libraries that are in here and the version. I will say that, you know, this is kind of like the beta version, so there'll probably be more JavaScript libraries that are available in the final release. But one thing that is pretty neat here, what I'm going to do is, like, for example, with the JavaScript library, if I come over to this kind of actions column and click on this edit item, you'll see where the dependencies are built in, right? So this says, you know, it depends on, and actually I don't know that this one does have a dependency. Let me click on a different one here. Let the page refresh. If they depend on, yeah, so this one here. So, you know, this is knockout mapping, and it depends on knockout version 2.2.1. So when DNN, if you try to call this library, then it knows that it depends on Knockout 221, and so it's going to load that as well. So I just wanted to highlight the fact that these libraries do have built-in dependencies, and that's kind of a safeguard for you there. So I'll close that one. And so the last thing that I want to go over as far as 7.2 enhancements is subscription and notification management. Now, if you are familiar with Evoke Social, which you may or may not be, there is a subscription management as well as like notifications that users can get from the system. And so, if someone tried to be your friend or whatever, you could get a notification from that. And so what we've done, and as well as the subscriptions, like you can subscribe to content, and if that content is updated, then you will get fired an email here within the system. So what we've done in 7.2 is that we have moved this subscription management API from the social solution to the core. So what I'm going to do is, I think I can do it from the super user account, and if I can't, I'll log out and log in as a different user here. But I'm going to click on edit my profile, and so now you'll see a third tab, and you're used to seeing this ability to update your name and all this kind of stuff. But now you'll see this communications tab, which is going to be new, and so this is the subscription management and notifications. And so currently I'm not subscribed to any content. That's why this area is kind of bare here. But if I were, or if I was subscribed to some content, you would see that listed here, and you could basically say, unsubscribe me or subscribe me, as well as you see this email delivery schedule. So users can get notifications, which are like system notifications. For example, in the Evoke content solution, you can get notifications during the workflow process. And then you can also get messages, which is like the internal messaging in between users. So you can dictate or denote if you want to receive these instantly, daily, hourly, weekly, or never, and the same thing for the notifications. And so this is on a per user basis, so it's kind of a more tailored experience for the user, so it makes messages and notifications more manageable, so that they're not constantly getting dinged if they don't want to be. And then beyond that, as far as this being in the interface here, is the fact that the subscription management API is going to be available to module developers to kind of tap into in case you wanted to introduce subscriptions into some of your module development. So as far as the 7.2 enhancements, that's all I've got to go over. I think Jim listed that there were like 6 major enhancements in this release. I think I've hit the majority of them. And so next I was going to kind of roll into some of the community features of the platform edition, but I guess I'll pause and see if you guys have any questions or comments regarding the 7.2 features or enhancements.
If anyone wants to jump in and ask a question, feel free. I've just unmuted all of the items. If you've muted your own connection, you'll want to use GoToMeeting to unmute, and then go ahead and ask your questions.
Hey, Clint, this is Scott.
Hey.
Hey, so one question I had about the scripts extensions, or the whatever that you call that.
Yeah, the JavaScript libraries. Yep.
Yeah. So as a module developer, let's say I'm writing a module and I'm using Knockout, and what I typically do now is using the Client Resource Manager API, I register my own version of Knockout, because up until now it doesn't really exist as something, only jQuery and jQuery UI exist as predefined, libraries in DNN. But if Knockout is now in the library here, is there an API that would tell me so that if I try to register it, or I could ask what's currently installed in the JavaScript library as far as these references before I try to register it again?
So you're saying from like a code perspective, is there a way that you can see which ones are installed versus coming here and looking from the host view? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, so if something in my module, if I hand it over to somebody, I have no idea how what they've done in their JavaScript libraries, but I know I need Knockout, you know what I mean, or a certain minimum version of Knockout. I'm just,
honestly, I mean, that's a great question, and I do not know the answer as far from a code perspective. I would have to ask Joe Brinkman that question because I think I heard him speak on this the other day, but that level of technical question is beyond my expertise, so I'll just put it like that. And I don't know if there's got to be a way you can do it in the code, but I do not know the specific answer, so I'm not going to even put on like I do.
Hey, Scott.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott. Yeah, somebody blogged about that a little while back, that there's a way to look it up. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember if it was Peter. I think it was one of the European guys.
Okay.
But I did see something about it because it was basically saying that, before you add in your own stuff, this is basically a way to check to see if something's already there that you can use, kind of thing.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I can try to find that.
Yeah, sorry, I can't remember who it was.
All right. So any other questions or comments?
Hey, thanks very much for sharing what's happening with 7.2. Is there a release date set yet?
I think that it. I mean, I want to say that it's published somewhere, but I was just sitting here thinking I do not know where it's published, but I think it's sometime in November. And
that was my take too, that it was sometime maybe next week or something. I thought the timing for you telling us a little bit about 7.2 was perfect because it's pretty much due out, which is great.
Right, yeah. It says, and Phil saying it said late November. I think they definitely communicated, but as far as like giving a hard date, I'm not exactly sure which one it is. But I know we're pretty close to being ready, because they're posting the beta, and I think they'll release candidate too. So, yeah, I do not know the specific answer, but I think it is in late November here.
That sounds about right. All righty.
Yeah, so you can click on it while you're eating turkey.
Yeah, and Phil jumped in that it's a Thanksgiving gift, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
We're some more stuff to be thankful for from